Things you will need to make your Hannah Montana guitar playable from getting it out of the box. The first thing you will need will be to tune it, so a clip-on tune is a good idea. If you don't have that, use pitch pipes. The next adjustment tool I used was an Allen key, the correct one, which you'll need to actually work on the truss rod. Be very careful not to over tighten it because you may snap the neck. The next useful thing for playing guitars is a capo. This is very useful. If you need a pickup, you can buy simple piezo ones that won't damage the inside of the guitar. An adult will need to change the at the top of the guitar, the nut widths will need to be slightly deepened, and you'll also definitely need to remove the saddle, and a good crocodile pair of pliers is good for that, long nose pliers. And then sandpaper once you've removed this part, this saddle here, which has been fixed so that the action has been made playable. And then the truss rod adjustment part, you'll find where that black hole is there. That's where your Allen key must fit in, and you turn it from left to. The Hannah Montana guitar is a 3/4 sized acoustic guitar with steel strings. It has a rosewood fretboard, a hardwood top and back, and a narrow neck, which is useful for people who want to learn guitar who find the normal stretch for chords and bar chords to be far too wide. But when it arrives, it will be unplayable. Here we can see where the truss rod needs adjustment. The first adjustment you will need to do will be get to the correct sized Allen key, and then find out you fit it between the strings very gently, and you'll find that the Allen key will fit. I fitted it between this string here, the G and the B. That depends on the angle. Once the Allen key is fitted snug, you will then need to turn the Allen key. I've already tightened the truss rod as much as I want to. If you over tighten it, you may snap a neck at the back, and the idea is to twist the Allen key very slightly, but you'll find that quite a lot of adjustment will be needed because the truss rod on this will have had no adjustment. The Hannah Montana guitar does come with a strap attachment holder. You need to then buy your own guitar strap. This is a matching colour ordered, and then fit it over this adjuster. And the other end of the guitar strap I find is best fitted if you wrap the shoestring end of it, or the string end of it, round a couple of times between these two sets of strings, and you'll see round the back what I've done. And when you get to the other side of it, you need to make sure you really tighten the strings around to grip the pair of strings. Tie a knot so it's firm and it can't come undone. It's already got this knot here to hold it. Then adjust the length according to how you want to play the guitar. If you're a young person, you'll probably need to have this quite short, and you might prefer to play sitting down. Adjust the guitar strap by holding this buckle and moving it either towards here to make the strap longer, or hold the strap like so and towards there to make it shorter, until you get the ideal amount so that when the strap goes around your neck and over your shoulder, you're comfortable with it. Before adjusting this part of the guitar, which is the saddle on the bridge, once you've tightened the truss rod but not over tightened it, you should find that the guitar becomes a little bit more playable. This guitar has now been fully adjusted. If you play a C chord, it's a good example of how you need to have a nice clean sound. To a G chord, to an E minor, to an F, to a bar chord, say a B flat. The other problem with the Hannah Montana guitar is that these screws here, which require a Phillips screwdriver, will be very loose. Do not over tighten them because you may break the tuners, but they will need to be turned a little bit just so that they're a little bit more snug inside the tuners this side, and then turning the guitar around on that side. Once you've tuned up the guitar and had a go, you will realise the action will still be very high. Even though you've adjusted the truss rod, do not over tighten it. Instead, you need to very gently on each of these tuners take all of the tension off each string one at a time, slowly winding them correctly. You can leave the strings on. Once all the tension is removed, you will then need one of these, which is a long nose pair of pliers. If you don't have a long nose ones, you may use a normal size one, but these are better. With the guitar flat on a table and this saddle here, which has been done already, it'll be a lot higher. You would then grip the side of the saddle like so, and you'd then gently lift it up and out of where it's held, and then gently lift it out. You may have to put your hand underneath the strings like so to help lift and guide it out as you guide the saddle out, and an adult would need to do that with all of the string tension off each string. Once the saddle has been removed from the guitar, you can leave the pins in with all the string tension off. You will then need to put a sandpaper onto table with newspaper underneath. You put the saddle along this and you must rub it along the sandpaper probably many dozens of times, maybe even hundreds of times, very gently to sand it down underneath. And you need to do this so that in the end the saddle only comes up to this sort of height, which, looking from my guitar here, is probably, if you take the very highest point of it, no more than about, say, 5 to 6 millimeters at the very highest point. And I've taken this saddle down as low as I want to so that I don't get fret buzz on full tuning. Please note the sanding is not done on the top of this saddle, it's done underneath it, which is the flat part of it. That's the bit you hold the saddle along the sandpaper with newspaper underneath it and keep sanding it. Try and make sure it's evenly sanded. You can turn it round and sand it this way, then turn it round the other way and sand it the other way underneath, and make sure that it lies flat on the table. And you'll need to take a considerable amount off to make the Hannah Montana acoustic guitar playable. To put the saddle back in, you need to use your hands, lift under the strings, and then push the saddle back where it came from this way, so that the B string, as you can see, which has got a displacement that goes to the back of the bridge, the back of the rest of them, is in this position and not at the top end of it. So you slide the saddle back in. You're best to use a clip-on tuner such as these. You hold the button, press it, and then make sure you click on the menu till you get G. You need then to set your tuner to guitar, which is the G setting. You pluck your lower string, and there you are. When it goes green, it's in tune with a needle in the middle. Next string, A. There you go. D, in tune. G, need to go slightly up. There you go. B. There, and top string E, and you're tuned up now, and then press your tuner to turn it off. If you carry out the modifications on the Hannah Montana 3/4 sized acoustic as I've explained, it will be able to be playable fully tuned. The other modification you'll definitely need to do is a slight adjustment at this end, which is called the nut. You will need to get an adult to use one of these, which is a Stanley knife, or if you have the correct tool, which is a nut file, that can be used to again adjust these string guides. I found the bottom one didn't need adjustment, that's the E. The A didn't need adjusting, the D needed slight adjustment, the G, the B and the E very slight adjustments. To do this, I lay the guitar flat and using the Stanley knife very gently from this side, I then went into the string guide I had to remove each string as I was adjusting it, obviously with no tension on the string, and slightly just deepen the string from this side, cutting downwards, but making sure you don't cut onto the fretboard, that side, and then also from this side, from the guitar, very gently. And you can see there's tiny bits of plastic nut there which you could blow away, which are there. Don't cut too deep or you'll get fret buzz. If you have cut too deep, you can always cut a little piece of string, old piece of guitar string, and lay it along underneath your set of 6 strings there, and get the gauge correct so that the strings don't buzz at all at the top nut. And I've done that in quite a few guitars which were unplayable. If you find that using tools is not for you, or there's no one in your house who could have a go at fixing your Hannah Montana guitar, and you'd need to be at least 21 years old to use a knife and tools, then you could always put your guitar into a guitar shop and get them to set the action as I've set the correct action on this Hannah Montana guitar. Once it's set correctly, you'll find that all the chords are playable. For instance, D chord, G chord with a D top, E minor with a D and G top, A minor with a G top, F, and G again. And you should be able to play finger picking style. And up the neck of the guitar, which is a G high up the neck. And bar chords, A minor, C, even D, and even higher bar chords, G, D, C, and sus chords. So you should be able to then enjoy playing your Hannah Montana guitar. And the idea is that the stretch you use on your fingers to play this guitar is a lot less than a full-sized acoustic, but it's pointless learning to play one unless it's been set up and made playable so that you can enjoy your guitar and learn to play guitar without having to hurt your fingers or lose the patience and confidence you need to play this instrument. You will also need to buy a capo. I found one of these ones to be very reasonably priced, and you fit it on, say I've got Capo 3. You can use your digital tuner here to retune. You need to know the names of the notes, obviously, to retune your guitar, and this also allows you to play many more acoustic songs. And this guitar does sound nice with the Capo one, played finger picking style. The Hannah Montana Disney guitar has been made by Washburn, a well-known guitar company. It is 3/4 sized and it has a slim neck. By weighing the guitar, I found it weighs 1.8 kilograms. I measured the length of the guitar from the top of the headstock here right down to the end of the body here, and I found it was 37 inches long. The scale length, that is from here on the saddle to the nut, came out as 23 inches. The nut width, which is the width across here, is 1.5 inches. It has 20 frets, and I believe that these are nickel alloy frets, so they're good, very good quality frets, and it has dot markers as well, which is very good when you're playing guitar, because it gives you an indication of finger position. It has a rosewood fretboard, a rosewood bridge, but the good points about this guitar are if you struggle to reach chords because you're a young player, or maybe because your fingers don't have the stretch to play bar chords, this is an ideal guitar for you, providing it's modified. It does come with plectrums, and I found that these guitars, the Hannah Montana plectrums, are ideal for playing this guitar acoustically. But the modifications are many, and I've listed them here. You may not be able to do all of these yourself, in which case you need to find someone who can modify it for you. The truss rod, for which you will need one of these, an Allen key of the correct size. It will need to be tightened this way, which is clockwise, but you mustn't over tighten it. It must feel that you have tightened it so that it feels tight, but not over tight. Otherwise the back of your neck, which is here, will split. Once the truss rod has been tightened, the next thing is you need to remove the plastic saddle, and for that you will need to take the tension off all of the strings, and you will need to use a pair of long nose pliers, and with the guitar sat down on a table flat, you need to grip the saddle this way, but like so, and lift it up and then gently pull it out from under the strings. You may have to put a hand underneath that, and you may need help from an adult to do that. The next thing that will need adjusting will be obviously this. Once you've got the saddle out, you need sanding underneath the saddle, the flat part, considerable amount. As you can see, my saddle here only pokes up probably about 5 or 6 millimeters at most at the very crest of it. Once that's done, the truss rod's been tightened, the saddle's been adjusted, the nut slots here, I didn't have to adjust this one, this one, this one, but these three did need adjusting, and you have to be careful. You'd have to use a blade, for instance, like a Stanley, or a proper nut file, and it would have to be the very narrow slots, just to have a little bit taken out, and the angle at which the string comes off them, you can gouge a slight bit more out of there so the string comes down and onto the tuning things here at a more acute angle. Okay, once those adjustments are done, you'll obviously have to buy yourself a guitar strap. This one's been bought to match the colour of the Hannah Montana. They do not come with guitar straps, and fit them as explained, and then you have a perfectly playable guitar which could be used by a young person, and they will find that they'll be able to enjoy playing acoustic guitar rather than having to suffer too much stretch on their fingers, and also too much pain to fret the chords.